my truck, I put some of these umbrellas that we have, these big umbrellas. It started to rain, and I was taking them to storage.
It started to rain. Okay, remember that. Scott Peterson told reporters and police it was raining on December 24th, the day Lacey went missing. But take a listen to what we found in a police report obtained only by Court TV, in which several workers at the Berkeley Marina, where Scott said he was fishing, were questioned about the weather. Well, the waterfront manager, landscape supervisor, and a groundskeeper were all in agreement. Quote, it was cloudy, but it did not rain. Well, joining us now, meteorologist and forensic weather consultant, Howard Altschule. Now, this is brilliant. We've got a forensic meteorologist. Now, he's done some investigating of his own into the conditions that day. And, Howard, I want to start with something that I've talked to viewers about, and then we're going to get into the waters and this sort of business. Sure. And I have said this woman was not out walking a dog because there is no jacket missing, not his nor hers. And what was the temperature at 9:30 in Modesto that morning?
It was 39 degrees, so it's pretty chilly stuff. I wouldn't be walking around if it was 39 degrees outside.
And maybe some gutsy New Yorkers would be, but Californians,
yeah, right.
California, 39 degrees. 75
and sunny is what they use. They need a jacket when it's 75, right?
Yeah. Now, you also really looked at the area, and you're able to take your Doppler radar, and whether it's right up virtually over their house to the Berkeley Marina, right, you could really tell whether there was any rainfall. What'd you find?
Well, interesting things I found. What we do with any forensic investigation into the weather. We look at the weather records from several different places surrounding where that incident happened, whether it's a slip and fall on snow or ice or a murder trial or a car accident. Every record surrounding Berkeley, north, south, east, and west, said it was completely dry, and those are actually human observations. And the other thing we have is an actual storm total Doppler radar picture zoomed in over the area, and that says that there was absolutely no rain there. There was a little bit south, but there was nothing going on right over Berkeley or 1 mile offshore. And you can see it here on the screen. I have it highlighted in A and B there a little bit. You can see there's, I did some investigative work.
Oh, we love this. This is good.
The good stuff. Yeah, you can see the color code on the right showing the color table. That gray stuff is way south of San Francisco, which is nowhere near Berkeley. Everywhere where A and B is in marker there was absolutely no rain reaching the ground, and it just confirms what the harbor master was saying and what everyone else was saying, and all those weather records that it did not rain where Scott Peterson was that day.
Yeah, so if he talks about rain on those umbrellas, which now is before he even left the house that he's talking about moving those, it was, however, overcast. It was cloudy.
Yeah, it was overcast, cloudy, around 50-ish degrees, and it was really a kind of quiet day. It wasn't really raining the way he said it was. You know, he said he had to turn back from the fishing trip because it was raining so hard, and that he was washing his jacket because of the sea spray and all the rain. And the interesting things here are that it wasn't raining, and the winds were very, very light from the southeast.
This is something else that I was quite interested in, because I imagine we're talking winter time, December, this little boat, San Francisco Bay. It wasn't so choppy and windy, was it?
I wouldn't think so. The wind in Oakland, which is just south of Berkeley, was from the east-southeast. It was calm for about a couple hours surrounding 1 p.m., and at most it was about 5 miles per hour or so from the east-southeast. So that's a wind coming off the land, and you would need a lot of water, a big fetch is what we call it, for there to be a lot of waves. And even if you did have a lot of ocean where that wind could kick up the waves, it was so light that there was nothing more than maybe a light chop.
Okay, a light chop, which is not going to prevent you motoring along. Now, there was a 15-horsepower motor, and I don't know if there's anyone here, whether you or Colin or Jan, or, in fact, Miss Kimberly, how fast can you rev up a 15-horsepower motor going across a lake? And he literally described an island that was about 2 miles out. So he went back. He only had an hour. We're only talking an hour of time unaccounted for. How fast would you rev up that motor to really get you some salt spray and get wet?
I think you'd really have to be revving it up. I mean, I've been on a motorboat a few times, and you really need to crank it up on a calm water in order to get some sea spray going. So without really high seas or any chop, you'd have to be going pretty fast, I think, in my opinion, to get some really big sea spray.
You are out on the water. It's 39, 40 degrees. It's cloudy. It's overcast. Are there any difference in the chill factor? In other words, it's going to be dank. It's going to be cold, but this guy had a jacket, and I'm thinking if you're on the water in 40-degree temperature, you're going to want to be really bundled up.
Well, I should point out the 39 and 40-degree temperatures were inland in Modesto, where he was in the bay was probably around 50, but still, that's pretty cool. And I wouldn't pick going fishing on a bay over golfing because it might be warmer and more pleasant.
Well, I wouldn't do that anyway. But that's
exactly.
And before we go, Howard, I've asked you to sort of stretch your study just a bit and look at tides. And we're going to get someone in here to really go through all the tide information. Everybody's asking about that. But we've got on your map again, and I'm not sure we can see it very well up here, but you literally checked out the tides that would be affecting the area from not only this Brooks Island, between Brooks Island and the marina, but all the way up to the bridge, the Richmond Bridge, which is north in this picture. Can we tell anything about the tides that day? Well,
right in Richmond, there happens to be a observation system, which is actually underwater, and it looks up to measure the currents and the tides and all that. The high tide occurred at about 2:06 in the afternoon. That was the highest tide. So kind of is very interesting when he supposedly was out there on the water doing the fishing, because it coordinates with when the high tide was. But as far as the currents go, in the morning they were generally light from the north-northwest, moving toward the north-northwest, but come about 3:45 in the afternoon, the winds and the actual currents themselves turned to the south-southeast and actually increased in speed as high as 2.2 miles per hour. So the water was moving from toward the south-southeast at about 2.2 miles per hour, and that was pushing it to almost where they found the bodies, right in that general vicinity. And it was in that direction and that movement for about 7 hours after he was fishing. So from about 3:47 p.m. until about 10:30 p.m., the currents were south-southeast.
Moving south-southeast, which would take the bodies, whether it was the Richmond Bridge or the Brooks Island area.
Either way works.
In that general direction.
Okay, well, we are going to continue to follow that angle, and this was fascinating, Howard. Thank you so very much.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. Howard Altschule now, back with my remaining panel after